Dear students, good morning to all. Now we will going to revise this chapter 10 respiration in organisms for half yearly portion. Okay, so listen carefully. Take your book, students. 10th chapter respiration in organisms. Okay, listen first. Respirations. What is mean by respirations? Respirations means the inhale and exhale. The gaseous exchange process is known as the respirations. Okay. He ran fast, reached bus stop after a few minutes. The breathing rapidly. Okay. So the running makes person breathe faster. The answer to breathe. Why breathe? Breathing is a part of respiration. That's all. Breathing is a part of respirations. The breathing, we breathe in air. You know, the air contains oxygen. Breathe. The way of breathing method 2. Inhalation and exhalation. Okay. So breathe out air which is rich in carbon dioxide. The air we breathe in the transport to all parts of the body and ultimately to each cells. In the cells, oxygen in the air helps in the breakdown of food. The process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respirations. What is mean by cellular respiration? The process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. Okay, what is mean by cellular respiration? Then cells of organisms. Cellular respiration takes place in the cells of organisms. Okay, what do you remember? Okay, next, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respirations. What is the difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respirations? What is mean by aerobic respirations? What is mean by aerobic respirations? The use of oxygen, the presence of oxygen, that is the aerobic respirations. The breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen is called aerobic respiration. What is mean by anaerobic respirations? The food can also be breakdown with using oxygen. Okay, this is called anaerobic respirations. The breakdown of food release energy. The equations glucose in the presence of oxygen. The anaerobic respirations, aerobic respirations. The aerobic respirations in the presence of oxygen. Next, the carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. Then anaerobes. What is mean by anaerobes? The carbon dioxide. There are some organisms such as yeast can survive in the absence of air. They are called anaerobes. Okay, they get energy through anaerobic respiration. The absence of oxygen, glucose break down into alcohol and carbon dioxide as given below. The glucose, the absence of oxygen, anaerobic respirations, alcohol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. Then yeast or single-celled organisms. Yeast is a single-cell organism. What is a unicellular organism? For example, protozoa. Yeast are the single-celled organisms. They respire anaerobically and during this process yield alcohol. They are therefore used to make wine and beer. So, single-celled organisms of yeast. During heavy exercise, fast running, cycling, walking, the many hours or heavy weightlifting, the demand for energy is high. But the supply of oxygen to produce the energy is limited. Okay. The anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscle cells to fulfill the demand of energy. That is anaerobic respirations. Anaerobic, what is meant by aerobic respirations? Anaerobic respirations, the using oxygen is called anaerobic respirations. Aerobic means the absence of oxygen. Anaerobic means the presence of oxygen without using oxygen. That is anaerobic respirations. Aerobic means breakdown of glucose. The use oxygen is called aerobic respirations. Aerobic respirations means the use of oxygen. Anaerobic means the absence of oxygen. Without using oxygen, the anaerobic respirations takes place in the muscle cells. The anaerobic respirations where it is takes place, the muscle cells fulfill the demand of energy, glucose in the absence of oxygen, lactic acid plus energy. That's all. Then next, this is a during exercise, some muscles may repair anaerobically. Then you get muscle cramps after heavy exercise. The cramps occur when muscle cells repair anaerobically. The partial breakdown of glucose produce lactic acid. The partial breakdown of glucose to produce lactic acid. The accumulations of lactic acid causes muscle crampus. We get relief from crampus after a hot water bath or a massage. Okay, that is a have you ever wondered why you get muscles cramps after heavy exercise? The cramps occur, the muscle cells repair anaerobically. The partial breakdown of glucose, the glucose to produce lactic acids. The accumulation of lactic acid causes muscle crampus. We get relief from cramps after a hot water bath or massage. That's all. Then the breathing. What is meant by breathing? The breathing means taking in air in oxygen and giving out air rich in carbon dioxide with the help of respiratory organs. Okay, what is meant by breathing? Breathing means taking in air rich in oxygen. Okay, giving out air rich in carbon dioxide with the help of respiratory organs. The taking in of air rich in oxygen into body is called inhalations. What is meant by inhalation? The taking in of air rich in oxygen into the body is called inhalation. What is meant by exhalation? The giving out of air rich in carbon dioxide is known as exhalation. Okay. What is the main difference of inhalation, exhalations? The intake and releasing gases. The intake of oxygen, inhalation. The releasing carbon dioxide is known as exhalation. Okay, what is meant by inhalation and exhalation? Next, breathing rate. What is meant by breathing rate? The number of times a person breathes in a minute is termed as the breathing rate. What is meant by breathing rate? The number of times a person breathes in a minute is termed as the breathing rate. During breathing, inhalation and exhalation takes place alternately. The breathe means one inhalations pulse, one exhalations. That's all. Okay, that is a breathing rate. During breathing, the inhalation and exhalations takes place alternately. A breathe means one inhalations pulse, one exhalations. That's all. That is a breathing rate. The breathing rate is also 2 more questions. Okay. So breathing rate, then aerobic and anaerobic respirations. What is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respirations? Define inhalation, define exhalations. So all of you go through the questions. Okay. Next, on an average adult human being rest breathe in out 15 to 18 times in it. During heavy exercise, the breathing rate can increase up to 25 times per minute. While we exercise, not only do we breathe fast, we also take deep breath and thus inhale more oxygen. That's all. Okay. One average adult human being rest breathing rate 15 to 18 times in a minute per minute, 15 to 18 times. During heavy exercise, to breathing rate increase. Okay. So note the point, the breathing rate can increase up to 25 times per minute. Note this points, students. How do we breathe? How do we breathe? Normally we take in air our nostrils. When we inhale air, it passes through our nostrils into the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, the air reaches our lungs through the windpipe. Okay. Windpipe means what? Windpipe or footpipe? Windpipe means the air, intake the air. Okay. Lungs are present in the chest cavity. This cavity is surrounded by ribs on the sides. A large muscular sheet called diaphragm. Large muscular sheet called, note this point students, go through these lines, these definitions: nasal cavity, lungs, chest cavity, diaphragm. Forms the floor of the chest cavity. The breathing involves a movement of the diaphragm and the rib cage. Well, if you see the picture 10.4. Okay. Next, during inhalation. During inhalation, the ribs moves up and outwards and diaphragm moves down. This movement increases space in our chest cavity and air rushes into the lungs. The lungs get filled with air during exhalations. First one, during inhalation process. During inhalation, the ribs move upwards and outwards and diaphragm moves down. This movement increases the space in our chest cavity. Okay. Do you understand, students? The movement increases space in our chest cavity and air rushes into the lungs. The lungs get filled with air during filled with air. That's all the inhalations. Next, during exhalations, the ribs move down and inwards while diaphragm moves up to its former positions. This reduces the size of the chest cavity. Reduce the size of the chest cavity and air is pushed out of the lungs. Okay, these movements in our body can be felt. That's all the inhalations during exhalations. Go through this inhalations and exhalations. Smoking damages lungs. Smoking is also linked to cancers. It must be avoided. Okay. Listen, see this picture. Human respiratory system. Okay, human respiratory system. All of you see this picture, students. The nasal passage, oral cavity, pharynx. This one is a trachea. Pair of lungs. This one is ribs, diaphragm. This is a human respiratory diagram. So all of you practice this diagram in your rough note. Okay, all of you practice this diagram in your rough note, students. Human respiratory system. Okay. Then the air around has various types of unwanted particles such as smoke, dust, pollens, etc. When we inhale, the particles get trapped in the air present in our nasal cavity. However, sometimes these particles may get past the hair in the nasal cavity. This may irritate the lining of the cavity. As the result, which we sneeze. The sneezing expels these foreign particles from the inhaled air and the dust-free, clean air enters our body. Okay, that is how to take when you sneeze, you should cover your nose so that the foreign particles you expel are not inhaled by other persons. That's all. Next, during inhalation and exhalations process, the diaphragm moves down. Inhalation. During exhalations, the diaphragm move back. Okay. This is a mechanism of breathing in human beings. Inhalation and exhalations. Okay. The inhalation. During inhalation, the diaphragm moves down. During exhalation, diaphragm moves back. Okay, the air down in the windpipe. Okay, inhalations. During inhalation, the air down in windpipe. The diaphragm moves down. The ribs move out. During inhalation, ribs move out. That's all. Then exhalation. Air forced out through the air forced out through the wind. During exhalations, the diaphragm moves back. Then the ribs move also back. That is a mechanism of breathing human beings, inhalation and exhalations. Okay. Next, the inhaled air, exhaled air. The percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide inhaled and exhaled air. The percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide inhaled and exhaled air. Inhaled air, the percentage of oxygen 21 percentage. The exhaled air oxygen 16.4 percentage. Then carbon dioxide inhaled. Listen, is very important. All of you listen carefully. The percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide inhaled and exhaled. Okay. Lungs, the inhaled air, oxygen percentage 21 percentage. Carbon dioxide 0.04 percentage. The exhaled air, oxygen 16.4 percentage. Carbon dioxide 4.4 percentage. That's all. The inhaled and exhaled, the percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Next, breathing in other animals. Okay, breathing in other animals. The animals such elephants, lions, cows, goat, frog, lizards, snakes, birds have lungs in their chest cavities like the human beings. Okay, cockroach. A cockroach has a small opening on the sides of its body. The other insects also have similar openings called spiracles. The similar opening called spiracles. So, the insects have a network of air tubes called trachea. The insects have a network of air tube called trachea for gas exchange. Oxygen-rich air rushes through spiracles into the tracheal tubes, diffuses into the body tissues and reaches every cells of the body. Similarly, carbon dioxide from the cells goes into the tracheal tubes. So, the insect's respiratory organs, trachea or spiracles. These air tubes or trachea are found only in insects. Note the point. These air tubes or trachea are found only in insects or not in any other group of animals. Okay. It's very important, spiracles in trachea. The tracheal system, this one is a trachea of cockroach. Then next, earthworm. Earthworm, the skin of earthworm feel moist and slimy on touching. The gases can easily pass through them. Through the frogs have a pair of lungs like human beings. They can also breathe through their skin, which is moist and slippery. Okay. The earthworm respiratory organs, the moist skin. That's all. The earthworm respiratory organ, the moist skin. The gases can easily pass through them. Through the frogs have a pair of lungs like human beings. That's all. But frogs also, the pair of lungs like human beings, they can also breathe through their skin. Okay, which is moist and slippery. Then next, gills. Gills are projections of the skin. So, gills are well supplied with blood vessels for exchange of gases. Listen, breathing organ of fish. Fish respiratory organ, gills. Gills is a respiratory organ of fish. Insects respiratory organ, trachea. The human respiratory organ, lungs. Earthworm respiratory organ, the moist skin. Okay. What do you remember, students? Okay. Next, do plants also respire? Listen, the cell's oxygen is used to break down glucose into carbon dioxide and water, as in other organisms. In plants, each pod can independently take in oxygen from the air and give out carbon dioxide. Okay, give out carbon dioxide. So, like all other living cells of the plants, the root cells also need oxygen to generate energy. The root takes up air from the air space present between the soil particles. See, all of you see the picture, your book 10.11. The roots absorb air from the soils, and see the picture. The soil particles. This one is a root hair. This one is the air space. Okay, the root absorb air from the soil. Just to recall these portions, students prepare well for the quarterly examinations. Chapter 10 last week, last class, already we learned. We will revise these portions. Chapter 9 soil, chapter 10 respiration and organisms, and then chapter 11 transpirations, plants and animals. It's very important 3 lessons, hopefully portions. So students, all of you go through the lessons completely, line by line, interior questions and book back questions. I will send photocopy of question and answers, so all of you read and practice in your rough note. Okay, then practice the diagram, the human respiratory system. Okay, human respiratory system. Then 9th chapter, soil profile. Okay, so all of you practice these diagrams. Okay, next, the respiration is essential for survival of living organisms. They release energy from the food. Then oxygen we inhale is used to break down glucose into carbon dioxide and water. Energy is released in the process. The breakdown of glucose occurs in the cells of an organism. For us, that is a cellular respiration. So what is meant by cellular respiration? The breakdown of glucose occurs in the cells of an organism. That is a cellular respiration. Okay, next. If the food is broken down with the use of oxygen is called aerobic respiration. What is mean by aerobic respiration? Anaerobic respiration. If the food is broken down with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. If the breakdown occurs without the use of oxygen, the respiration is called anaerobic respiration. Okay. Next, during heavy exercise, when the supply of oxygen to our muscle cells is insufficient, food breakdown is by anaerobic respirations. Okay. Then, breathing. Breathing is a part of the process of respiration, during which an organism takes in the oxygen rich air and gives out air rich in carbon dioxide. The respiratory organisms for the exchange of gases vary in different organisms. During inhalation, our lungs expand the original states, the moves out during exhalations. The increased physical activities enhance the rate of breathing. Next, animals like cow, buffalo, dog, cat, the respiratory organs and the process of breathing are similar to those in humans. In earthworm, the exchange of gases occurs through the moist skin. In fishes, it takes place through gills, and in insects through the trachea. In a plant, the roots takes in air present in the soil. Leaves have tiny pores called stomata. Stomata is a gaseous exchange process functions. Okay, the breakdown of glucose in the plant cells is similar to that in other living beings. Okay, that's all students, this chapter. So students, all of you carefully prepare the half-yearly portions. Okay, so all of you well prepare well for half-yearly portions, chapter 9, chapter 10 and chapter 11. Okay, chapter 9 soil, chapter 10 respiration in organisms, chapter 11, transpiration, plants and animals. So all of you go through the lessons. Next class we will revise the portions, chapter 11. Okay, so this class all of you complete your completely revise this lessons line by line, each line by line. Okay, then practice the diagram in your rough note. I will give some homework, so all of you should complete and send my WhatsApp number. Okay, thank you students.